Hello, hello. It is 1 o'clock, February 7th, 2025. My name is Joe Kandra. This is Guild Goes Live. Um, it's 2025. The internet has been around since 1994, I believe, and this is the very first time I've ever done a live broadcast. So bear with me. It's our turn at the Guild, and we all take turns doing the Guild Goes Live, and this is my turn. So I hope I'm doing fine. I've got lots of little things to deal with here on the side. I have no idea what they are, and I will just go with what I'm given here. So I guess what I do is kind of give you an idea of who I am and what the Guild is about. And I'm not sure how to see if, here's the chat window. And I don't know if anybody is actually seeing this right now or if anybody's there. Just give me a chat and we'll get going from here. My name is, as I said before, my name is Joe Kandra. I started in graphic design back when it was called computer-aided graphics back in 1985. And I was with a company up in New Hampshire, defense contractor, big design stations. They were called. It was a company. Well, the company who made the graphic design stations I used was called Dycomed. These were big, $150,000, $120,000 design stations. Big 20-inch CRT monitors, 4-button puck keyboard, a big digitizing tablet, and it ran 8-inch floppy disks, big floppy disks, not those little guys, not the little zooms. It was big. And we made slides, we made view graphs. There were 4 artists working in two shifts. I was on the, the 1 in the afternoon to 4 in the morning shift. So 4 in the afternoon to 1 in the morning shift, which was fun. I got a little extra money on that. But that was the state of computer graphics at the time. We didn't have any ability to do photos. The actual computer was a very early vector drawing. This was before Adobe Photoshop, before Corel Draw, before Photoshop. The computer was actually kind of a prototype, well, not a prototype, it was an early version of vector drawing. So we had spline curves and things like that, but no gradients, no, 120 colors per image. And that's where I started, and I've been going ever since, and kind of retraining myself every 4 to 5 years to try to keep up. I've been a Guild member since 2018. And I've been the New England regional rep since 2021. And I want to tell you a little bit about the Graphic Artists Guild. I'm going to check what we have written on the website here because I don't have it memorized. The purpose of the Graphic Artists Guild is to promote and protect the social, economic, and professional interests of its members. We are committed to welcoming, serving, and improving conditions for graphic artists at all levels, while raising standards for the entire industry. In addition to creative professionals, our members include educators, intellectual property lawyers, artist representatives, and others in related and supporting industries. We have been active in copyright issues. We are active in AI issues, and the Guild is a good thing. We have webinars. We have monthly, sometimes weekly events online, and I suggest you check it out. It's Graphic Artists Guild, all one word, graphicartistguild.org. Online you can find out more information. And what I would like to talk about today, I think we've probably talked about this on Guild Goes Live in the past, is AI. Now, we have webinars once a month, and I was lucky enough to host the webinar this past Wednesday on the 5th. And oh, hello, Gerald Dienix. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. I'm good at reading. I'm not good at speaking what I read sometimes. But I was getting to. We had a webinar presented by Artis Samani, who's from England, who's based in the UK, and is basically somebody like even the BBC calls her and says, "Hey, what's the deal about AI?" So it was a very interesting webinar. If you're a guild member, you can check it out in the archives. It should be up soon, maybe by next week. It'll be in the archives, and if you're a guild member, you can watch that for free. If you're not a guild member, you can check out the webinars and the webinar archive for a modest fee. But I would suggest doing this because it gave me some things to think about, because since generative AI and AI in general, since generative AI came about, it's been the boogeyman, and a lot of people are very worried about it, very upset about it, and I think rightly so. But Artie had a different way of thinking about it, and it was an interesting way to think about it, because we have to admit it's not going away. AI is not going away. Throughout history, when a new technology has come around that make things faster, cheaper, more reliable, more reproducible, that technology has taken power, has become the leader, and I just want to go like through maybe a little bit of history. This is something that's come off the top of my head. I wrote down the other day. So there have been many turning points in creative arts throughout history. So, at one point, creative art was cave paintings, was carving on antlers, carving on walls, carving designs, painting designs on animal skins. Not reproducible. They don't last, although some of the paintings have lasted tens of thousands of years. But I in my thinking, the first thing that really happened was, paper, cuneiform, putting things on clay tablets, that kind of stuff. But you don't get the first like major shift out of hand making things until you get to the point of where printing was developed. And that way somebody could create something, but then could create multiple copies. And just imagine, I know there was printing back in, like, say, the Renaissance, but what if they'd had 4-color printing the way we do now? Can you imagine what they could have produced? There was 4-color printing, like Japanese print blocks and things like that, but those were limited. They weren't widespread mass industry, like what happened when movable type was developed. I think first in China, and then Gutenberg gets a lot of the credit because he made the first movable, I think metal type. I think it was the metal type. That caused a huge publishing boom. Suddenly books were everywhere. And, well, who kind of suffered? Well, the scribes did. There were scribes, and they would copy a book, and it would take them a year to copy a Bible, something like that. But now you could print Bibles. You could print out a whole Bible in, I don't know how long it took, a couple of days, maybe a week, bind it up, sell it. So literacy went up. Another one that comes to mind is photography. Photography came around, I believe, in the late 1800s, in the middle of the 1800s. I think it was the first really got started, and by the definitely by the late 1800s, the 1850s, 1860s, obviously photography was full blown there. Well, then why did you need your portrait painted if you could have a photograph? Then for printing, you couldn't print photos, but eventually they developed technology to print photos. And well, then the people who made illustrations for books and newspapers and things like that, well, it affected their business. Then everything was hand set. All the type was hand set. Well, they came up with linotype machines and other typesetting machines that used hot metal to cast lines of type and put it into big blocks of type. The New York Times was set with hot metal linotype for 80 years. That put a lot of people out of work, but made new jobs for a lot of other people. Then you've got photographic and computer-generated text, which put linotype out of business. Then you've got digital graphics versus traditional graphics. That's kind of like where I came in. When I first started working, we couldn't put a photo in a slide. We had to make a slide, put a little window where the photo was supposed to go, send it down the hall to the photography department. After we had had the slide made, they took the slide and the photo, put them on a 4x machine to do a double exposure for a new slide so that the photo was inserted. Now that's done like that. So computer type, digital versus traditional. Back when I was in college, I did a little comic strip for the newspaper, and they would give me the originals back, and it's all marked up about how they reduced it and everything. And sometimes I did an illustration that they used full size, and it would come back and have wax on the back because they used wax to lay out the pages before they photographed them and make them into plates. Well, that's all gone now. And now the web and online has really affected traditional printing of books. How many people read books on their tablets or online, like via Kindle, rather than buy a paperback book, a dead tree book? And then the next to latest is these mass tools that everybody can use online. You've got Canva, you've got all kinds of clip art. You have all these things online now. You don't necessarily need a designer to make things yourself. I remember when I did some work for a couple years at a TV station as an assistant. Well, that was back in the 80s. That was back when they started having graphic generators to make flying chrome logos and everything. And so they didn't have to send it out to anything. So all these flying chrome logos were around everywhere. And it was a learning curve for a lot of people to figure out what would work, what didn't work, because they didn't have graphic training. And so now you have Canva and other online tools. And like me personally, I found a lot of my freelance business has gone away because I think people are using those a lot more. Now they're not designed by a designer, but they're good enough. And a lot of this transition over the centuries has been because things are cheaper and they're good enough. And that is going to win out over an industry sometimes. It'll make a new industry rise up while an older industry dies. And now the latest one is AI. So AI, you can get your text through AI, you can get your images through AI, you can get video through AI. Now, is it all good? No. Is some of it good enough? Yes. Is it going to get better in the future? Yes. Now, one big point about AI is all of these other things I talked about up to this point, they didn't die completely. There's still people making prints with woodblocks. There's still people hand drawing, letter forms. There are painters, there are illustrators, there are cartoonists, there are photographers, there are printers who still use old type. There's people who still use linotypes. There's still a few around. So none of the older technology goes away. but it is not the forefront. And in the webinar that we had this past Wednesday, this was something that Artie was talking about how to not necessarily embrace AI, but learn to work with it. And she came up with a few things that I thought would be good to pass on. So she said there were 3 key trends to AI impact on a creative sector, which was design tool democratization. So that's all these tools that a lot of people can have with or without training and do things on their own. And people do that. A lot of times it's okay. Sometimes it's really bad. Sometimes it's fantastic. And that is just going to become more of the norm. There are copyright and intellectual property battles. That's been one of the big boogeyman aspects of AI because of a lot of unethical, in my mind, skimming of images, skimming of text, skimming of video, of audio, to create new things. Now it's great to use old things to create new things, but if you don't own the rights to that, that's the big problem. Some people say there are no new ideas. And in some cases, there are no new ideas. Everything has been done at least once before. And the idea is to try to come up with some new way of doing something, of getting across a message, getting across an idea, getting across a visual. Doing it ethically is the question. That will eventually work its way out, because if everybody is just doing things in the wild, it's like a wild west of everything getting done, then there's going to be an enshittification of everything. And there will be people will long for something that they can trust, something that they know is real, something that they knew is creative, rather than something that looks like everything else that anybody's ever done. There's also another problem and impact is reduced fees, because everything becomes a gig, because everything becomes a job you do just now, not a job you have over time. I was lucky in a lot of my career. I had long-term jobs. I had jobs in large corporations. I made a fairly good living at that. And now, due to issues of age, issues of technology, issues of the times, I don't have that right now. And I think a lot of people coming into the graphics world are having those kind of issues as well. They're having trouble finding long-term positions. Also because companies, corporations, even small shops, they don't need as many people as they used to, because of things working out so that, I was in a department in a company and we had 30 people. And now the same job can probably be done by like 5 or 6, maybe 10, because of the speed of graphics and the different styles of graphics, all of that. So there are economic trends which are forcing cuts. High interest rates, high energy costs, and a demand slowdown. That is not anything that we can have control over. As artists, as writers, as illustrators, as video people. I mean, you used to have a whole TV studio and a broadcast network to get stuff out. Now all you need is your phone and an internet connection, and you can broadcast to the world. And that's great, but also it's a big change. How do we deal with that change? That's the question. A lot of the issues. Well, here's some also. Ari had some myth busters. So AI is replacing all human artists. Well, no, that's never going to happen. Nothing's going to replace all human artists, because AI, it still lacks true creativity. It can fake creativity. It can find something and kind of put things together in a different way, but it can't come up with anything out of whole cloth. You can't give it a blank piece of paper and say, draw something. It has to find something to pull from to do that. Another one is another myth is if I use AI, I'm cheating. Well, you're not cheating. It's a tool. It depends on how you use it. If you are skimming, if you take somebody else's image and you manipulate it just a tiny bit and try to pass it off as your own, that's cheating. That's copyright infringement. That's illegal. That's immoral. It's unethical. If you use AI to ideate different things, run it through a few times, it could come up with a different vision that you hadn't thought of. That would be akin to sketching. You're sketching, the best artist will sketch and sketch and sketch and sketch and sketch and then draw. They don't start with the final product. They go through a whole process. If you use AI as that process, that's ethical, because then you take that thing that's gone through 5 or 10 different levels of change, and then you put your final spin on it in your style. It's AI as a tool then, and that's good. Another myth she said was all clients will stop paying for human work, and that's not true. Some clients will. Some clients will say, "Oh, it's just good enough. I don't care." I've worked with people like that. I don't care what the company logo colors are supposed to be. I just want it to be green on this yellow shirt, and I don't care what the logo police say. You're always going to have those people, but you're going to have people who want to have companies and people who want to have a lasting impact, who want to have a profound impact on their clients, on their marketing, on their customers. They're going to pay for the best work. And if you can provide that best work with and without AI, you have a better chance. So AI can be positive if it's harnessed, if its powers are used for good and not evil. I'll say that. It's a method of thinking of a new tool. Now you can be, like the Luddites, the people who smashed the looms back in, I think it was the 1700s, maybe. I think it was the loom. It was the weavers. I'm not sure exactly where. For some reason, France comes to mind, but I may be wrong. Who smashed looms because it was putting the weavers out of work, and they didn't want automated weaving, textile production to happen. You can fight against it, but it's going to happen. It's going to be there. So the best thing to do is to learn how to do it yourself, learn how to integrate it into your workflow, into what you do, and fight and work for ethical, moral use of that tool. Photography didn't get rid of painting. Printing didn't get rid of hand lettering. Computers didn't get rid of traditional art. So in the long run, AI will be most used as a tool. There are going to be many instances of, say, movies don't have to hire 1,000 extras to be background actors now in big battle scenes, because they can do a lot of that through generative AI or computer generated imagery. And okay, that's good enough for a background. But for people in the front, for the actors, they're going to need actors. For designing a website, you can have a computer just throw things into a template, but you're going to need somebody who knows how to code, knows how to do the HTML, knows how to do the graphics, knows how to do color theory, knows how to do typography, to get it so that it looks better than something just out of a template. It'll stand out. It'll be doing the human aspect of it will make things better than an automated process. So if you want to use AI, you have to do, find out what your value proposition is as a person, as an artist, as a designer, to help yourself along, to help integrate that kind of into your workflow and make your addition the value added. Maybe you're maybe you have a company and you're designing cards, you're designing graphics for web, you're designing whatever. You can have several tiers. You can have something where you have mostly AI with tweaks so that it's ethically used. Then you can have some that's AI based, but then you take over and you kind of rework it. Or I'm kind of should go in here. Well, the second level, and your highest level is totally human generated, because the human touch is always going to be needed the most. I think and people don't even know about it when they see it, but subconsciously they can. If you take a whole bunch of images and a bunch of them are created totally by a computer with no human intervention, there comes a point where they kind of all start looking the same. And the human generated image is going to stand out. And because of that, I think going in the future, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's automated, with some human supervision. But I think the premium stuff, the premium level stuff is going to be mostly human generated, because it just has that quality that you can tell. Even subconsciously you might be able to tell, maybe not even consciously you can tell, but it's something about, there's a difference of looking at like a Leonardo portrait and a computer generated face. If you had a computer generated Mona Lisa, totally computer generated, and you look at it against the real one, you can tell the difference. Subconsciously, emotionally, I think that's just going to be the case. I see we have a couple minutes left. I don't know if anybody's actually watching at this point, because I did have a couple people on the chat. And I think I will just end up by saying it's not the boogeyman. Computer-generated imagery, computer-generated music, computer-generated text. It's early days. And a lot of times early days, things are confusing, annoying, scary. Yes, there's going to be a big change. I've seen multiple changes even during my career. Like when I first started, I just did slides and view graphs. And over time, I had to learn how to do photo retouching, how to do logos, how to do animation, how to do HTML and web, how to do interactive web, and the departments I was in started getting smaller and smaller and smaller because we needed fewer and fewer people. And now this is the next big change, AI, but it's not the end of graphics. It's not the end of human artists. It's not the end of human writers. It's not the end of human anything. It's going to be a tool. It's going to be integrated into workflows. It's going to be integrated into code. It's going to be integrated into laws. And the best way to survive in the long run is to learn it and harness it for your own purposes, for your own work. And I think it'll be a new adventure, as all of the changes have been in the past. But art, traditional computer art, traditional old-fashioned art, it's not going away. It will never go away. And in fact, it might even be more top of the line going forward. I'm not explaining it the best way. But let me let you off with, now if you want to see anything else that the Guild does, we have multiple things going on during the month. Every Sunday we have Freelance Fandango that's handled by the West Group, and it's online. You can find it on the calendar. We also have a monthly show off and tell, which we in New England do. We host that this month. It's going to be on the 26th. That's anybody logs in through Zoom. Show us your work. If you want feedback, if you want to see what other people are doing, you want to meet people who are doing work, it's great. Come watch us. We have a lone artist, another lone artist talk on the 27th. That's usually going over lots of different topics. And next month on March 19th, we have our next webinar, which is How to Escape the Hourly Rate Trap with Justine Clay. I recommend all of the Graphic Artists Guild webinars very highly. That's one of the reasons why I actually joined, so I could watch them all and get some information about that. So I hope you haven't minded me just blabbing for a half hour, and I hope you come back next month. I'm not sure who the host is next month, but there'll be something to see and something to hear about. And the Graphic Artists Guild, graphicartistsguild.org. You can find all the information about the guild and all the information about our events. And I guess that's it from me. Have a good day.